Hello, everyone, and welcome to Battle of the Beast Reptile Rampage, episode number 27? Yeah, episode number 27. Almost lost count there. This is the third battle of the quarterfinals, and in this battle, I have two beasts fighting out for the third spot in the semi-finals. Now, with these two beasts going against each other, this is a matchup which I should have seen could be a possibility. But this matchup actually never occurred to me since the beginning of the tournament. And now it's here, and I'm just thinking, who would win this? On a serious perspective, both beasts have a good chance in winning this battle. And that just leads me to think, who is going to win this? I do not know. Let's introduce them. Representing Series 1, where it all began, this beast has actually won quite a few tough battles. Well, two, actually. He beaten Falcor the Coral Terror in round one, a former semi-finalist, and beaten not one, but two dragons at the same time, being Vedra and Crymon. So, with that, let's introduce Ferno the Fire Dragon versus his opponent, a representative of Series 20, the Isle of Ghosts. This beast has a very good capability, well, a really good sense of defense and excels a lot at the defensive part, but also on the offense. And weirdly, the defense and offense, most of it is centered around his tail. Yes, I'm talking about Skalix, the snapping horror. So with these two beasts going against each other, I am going to need to give it a swampy arena for water for Skalix, and Ferno can fly, so it's relatively even. So yeah, the swampy arena, and with that, let's get to the stats. Ferno the Fire Dragon. In caves in the south by Avantia's winding river lurks Ferno the Fire Dragon. Ferno is so enormous he has been mistaken for one of the mountains. The Fire Dragon patrols the river and makes sure that the southern towns of the kingdom are never flooded. Should the water rise, he can use his clawed feet to build protective dams. Their sudden appearances confuse the locals, but they are very grateful for them. Age 288, power 212, magic level 180, fright factor 91, size 465. Powers and abilities: fire breath, flight, enhanced strength, speed, and durability, natural weaponry, limited camouflage, and immunity to poison. Weaknesses are enchantments and durability limits. Skalix the Snapping Horror. Skalix's broad, muscular body is armoured with black scales, and his teeth are as sharp as daggers. His tail ends in a great club, spiked with bony knives, making it difficult for a quester to have any line of attack against this monstrous crocodile. Age 173, power 228, magic level 164, fright factor 86, size 246. Powers and abilities: natural weaponry, natural armor, enhanced strength and speed, and underwater breathing. Weaknesses: holes in scales, blinding, and tail removal. Okay, so with the stats department done and the battlefield already picked out for these two beasts to go against, let's get into the battle. So as both the chamber doors open, Ferno immediately bursts out through the sky exit, roars into the arena, causing the water to create lots of ripples as Ferno roars. But there are more ripples approaching from the other side, and followed by, well, with a loud thud, followed by the ripples. Ferno looks over to the other side and sees Skalix marching out of his chamber, swinging his tail around violently as he comes out and roaring in aggression towards Ferno. Ferno wastes no time and immediately breathes fire over Skalix. Skalix bows his head as he allows the fire to just bounce off his scales, almost like they did nothing. Ferno comes down to eye level with Skalix as Skalix just stares Ferno down. Ferno charges up towards Skalix. Skalix immediately takes a step to the side, swinging his entire body round and his tail. Ferno sees Skalix's tail coming swinging straight towards him, and he grabs it with one of his claws and forces it down to the ground as he continues to come up towards Skalix, grabs one of his rear legs and takes off to the sky, whilst pulling Skalix off balance. As he does that, he continues to breathe fire over Skalix, not to inflict damage this time, but to evaporate the water and create a steam vapor, which Ferno does manage in doing. And as he lands back down, he's right next to Skalix, and Skalix is unable to see him. In which Ferno uses his tail, slides it underneath Skalix, and hoists Skalix up, knocking him off balance. As Skalix gets rolled onto his back, Ferno immediately puts his claws down on top of Skalix's chest and drags his claws along Skalix's underbelly. Skalix roars in pain over this, but is able to maneuver his tail around to where he's able to swing it and knock Ferno on the side of the head, knocking Ferno off Skalix entirely. Skalix is able to roll back onto his legs, and then charge up towards Ferno in the crocodile-like manner, swinging his tail around violently, hitting nearby shrubbery or trees and causing splashes everywhere. Ferno used his wings to deflect another oncoming tail swipe. However, Ferno felt the power behind that swing, even though it didn't do any damage to him, realizing he needs to be careful of that tail. As he snaps towards Skalix, Skalix swings his tail towards Ferno. Ferno ducks underneath the tail and, using his claw, grabs onto parts of the tail and pulls Skalix back, trying to make him lose balance. Skalix has a firm grip over the ground as he's refusing to lose balance, as he's trying to have his balance taken from him. Ferno, unsure on what to do, decides that maybe the best bet is to change the environment up in his favour. So Ferno quickly takes to the sky and breathes as much fire as he physically can all over the arena. That's incinerating the shrubbery, incinerating the trees, bushes, everything, and evaporating all the water until it's almost like a rocky terrain arena, but instead of rocks, it's sand. So a sandy terrain, or maybe a desert, but with no cacti. So yeah, a rocky terrain arena, pretty much, sand and rocks, pretty much. That's what's left after Ferno terraformed rather. As Ferno lands back down, Skalix inspects the new arena, realizing that he now is pretty much pressed for time. With lack of water, he's gonna have to try his best to, not dehydrate, which is very easy for a crocodile. So, good luck. Ferno charges up towards Skalix. Now, Skalix swings his tail towards him. Ferno takes to the sky to avoid that and goes in above Skalix, goes towards Skalix, but from Skalix's front end, rather. As Ferno goes to slash towards him, Skalix dodges his head and bites down onto Ferno's leg, causing Ferno to roar in pain as Skalix pulls Ferno down to the ground, keeping a firm grip on his leg. Skalix swings his tail forward and batters Ferno on the side of his body with that club tail. He pulls the tail back and brings it down onto Ferno again. This time Ferno uses his wing to defend his body, as he knows he can't take another hit in the same spot because it will break some bones this time. And the club actually hits the I'm going to say the top of the wing, if you know what I mean by that. And one impact from that instantly broke Ferno's wing. Ferno roars in anger and pain from that, and he bites down onto the tail and pulls it with all his might, trying to pull Skalix away, and inflicts enough pain on him for him to let go of his leg. Skalix, in response, just bites down tighter on his leg. Ferno, having absolutely no idea what he can do, lifts up his other leg as he's trying to keep balance of himself with having one leg taken from him and one broken wing. He uses his other legs and forces Skalix's head down into the ground, trying to suffocate Skalix in the sand as he's trying to keep the tail at bay, which is swinging his neck from side to side. and also trying to free his other leg as he's trying to suffocate Skalix in the sand. Skalix, in retaliation, goes down to the ground and then pushes himself upwards with his legs, causing him to go onto his hind legs using his tail for balance. As he lets go of Ferno, Ferno's overwhelmed by the shocking change in move, as Inferno's flung completely off Skalix. As Skalix lands back down, he sees that his tail is now free and is able to swing it violently, causing multiple batterings over Ferno's neck, body, and one good shot on the head. As Ferno regains himself, dazed and confused from the onslaught of batterings he received, he inspects his leg and sees that there's just tons of tooth marks over it, and he can't even see his claw. There's that much blood all over him. He also realizes putting too much pressure on it is painful for him, so he keeps it tucked up close to his body as he hops around using his tail for support so he doesn't fall over everywhere. As Skalix swings his tail towards him again, Ferno dodges it, this time as it was aiming for his head, breathes fire directly at it, and in that moment, Ferno had a realization about something. So he keeps a safe distance from Skalix and continues to breathe an onslaught of fire all over Skalix. Skalix turns round and doesn't seem to be affected by this as he continues to make his way towards Ferno through the flames. Ferno continuing to persist with the fire breath. Eventually, Skalix does start slowing down. He starts struggling to move forward, but he continues almost like he's set himself a goal to get to Ferno. Eventually, Skalix does eventually come to a complete stop when it comes to the onslaught of fire which Ferno has inflicted on him. Ferno sees that Skalix is finally taking effects from the fire, and Ferno then stops with the fire, makes his way over to Skalix. Skalix tries snapping towards him, but it's a lot slower than what he was before. And at that moment, Ferno realized what he's just done. He's eliminated all the moisture that's off Skalix, and now Skalix is dehydrated. Ferno used that to his opportunity. He comes down onto his side, where he can lift up his one remaining leg, grabs Skalix by the neck, and digs his claws in him, causing Skalix to roar in pain and try and swing his tail towards Ferno's head to knock him off. Ferno sees that coming and bites down on the tail and just pulls it violently as he continues to have a firm grip on Skalix's neck, causing Skalix to roar in even more pain as he's being stretched out. Ferno then takes his claw off his neck and wraps his tail around Skalix's neck and constricts as tight as he can, whilst Ferno has a bite on Skalix's tail, and using his other claw, he holds the tail in place and twists his neck, causing the tail to snap, and he pulls it with all his might, breaking it off. As he angles the club end of the tail with his claw and mouth, he now holds the club in his mouth with the actual club-like end on the outside of the mouth, whilst he has what's left of the tail that was part of it in his mouth. Skalix, struggling to breathe from being, strangled by Ferno's tail, gets a sense of relief as Ferno loosens his grip around his neck and actually retreats his tail. As Skalix gets his bearings, he looks up to Ferno to see that he's holding the club that was at the end of his tail, and realizes that Ferno's about to beat the ever-living daylights out of him. And that's exactly what Ferno does. He brings his head down in such almost like snap of the fingers, that quick, and smashes the club from Skalix's tail directly on Skalix's head, slamming his head into the ground. The spectators see that and it's like, oh, that's got to hurt. But Ferno continues to do it. He just lifts up his head and brings it down again and again and again and again. He continues relentlessly bashing Skalix's head in with his own tail. Eventually, Skalix starts to have blood splattering all over the ground of the arena. And when Ferno stops to look at what he's done, he sees that Skalix is just twitching uncontrollably, quite violently. At that point, Ferno decides that maybe Skalix had enough. He then drops the club and looking at the wounds all over Skalix's head, he uses his claw, his one remaining talon, claws rather, his leg, claws from his talon. That's the way I'm trying to explain it, and digs into the open wounds here, making it big enough for him to fit his claw in, and digs and goes right into Skalix's head, grabbing onto his brain and yanking it out. All of his claws dug right deep into his brain before he slams it on the ground in front of Skalix's eyes as the life drains from it. And with that, Ferno then decides that Skalix has been through enough. So he makes his way back to his chamber, ready for the semi-finals. So that Ferno has won, Skalix has lost. If you think Skalix should win, please comment below what you think of that, how my words final, and Ferno's moving on to the semi-finals. Now, ultimately, I could have seen any of these beasts winning. But the reason why I gave the victory to Ferno over Skalix is because Skalix was also fast like Ferno and had a very deadly weapon unlike Ferno. What Ferno had was the advantage of height, and while Skalix was able to take away that, it was also a case of Ferno had a ranged weapon, which even though it doesn't look like it does anything, it will do something eventually. And with Skalix being based off being part crocodile, was I know he's based on an Ankylosaurus, he does have traits of a crocodile. It's even mentioned in his stats. And with that, like what happened in Convul with his battle in the book, he got dehydrated when he was away from water for too long. And with that logic, that would happen to Skalix as well, and that's what Ferno exploited. With that, Skalix started to become a lot slower than what he was beforehand, and at that point, the battle was Ferno's. So that is why I gave Ferno the victory here. Ferno is now the third semi-finalist to be announced, and now we got one more battle to go. And if you've been keeping up with the quarterfinals so far and have seen the other battles and know what other two beasts are remaining, you know that this next fight is going to be a really good one. Because we got two former runner-ups going against each other. And the question that is on everyone's mind is, who is going to win? But with that being said, that's all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, press the notification bell down in the corner below, and I'll see you next time.